Hello YouTube, Redhead Takes here. And here we are, the 100 subscriber special. I honestly did not think I would get here at this point yet. Did not think I'd be at 100 subscribers after only more than a couple months, more like 8 months or so. And yeah, it's a pretty exciting thing to be this far ahead. I did not think I'd be at this point, but thank you again for all the subscribers and all the likes and everything. Thank you for the engrossing commentary that I've had. Some of the weird spam comments that apparently is common for new YouTubers, but I guess it's just part of the gig, but thank you all again. Now, I did say I would review the Dune movie fully, and I will. This movie, I still don't know how deep I want to go into it, because I genuinely believe first you should read the book and then see the movie, because for me, after reading the book and then seeing the movie, my nerdgasm was completely going off the whole time, thinking, wow, could this get any better? It feels just like you're watching the book on the screen, and it really feels that way when you watch it. There's so many scenes. I don't want to go through a full breakdown or everything, because like I said, genuinely believe that you should just read the book and then watch it. But even if you just watch the movie, it's so visually enthralling that you'll want to read the book anyway to see what all the fuss is about, because this movie just nails it perfectly. As perfectly as you can get in this day and age, or by anything done by mortal hands. And yeah, just the relationship, you really see the relationship in this movie between Paul and his father Leto, father and his mother Jessica, Paul and Duncan, Idaho, and just, he's the main character. You feel it. Timothée Chalamet does a great job at bringing the character to life. Most of the cast in this movie is cast very well, I gotta say. Even though I think Jason Momoa is not a very good actor, he looks and sounds the part of Duncan, Idaho. Zendaya is fine as Shani, but honestly, could we have not gotten anybody else but Zendaya, because she's kind of terrible actress. But also the visuals in this movie are just lame-o juice, perfect. Now, who knows how well they'll age, but I mean, the bombardment, the orbital bombardment with the attack on the Atreides fleet, the sandworms look fantastic. The Baron looks menacingly evil and disgusting. He just looks like a disgusting fat wretch. It's absolutely disgusting and evil. And just all the costumes, the mixing, the sound mixing is excellent. It drives the plot forward like it should, especially those rising moments when Paul stands up and just looks longingly into the screen. You just feel like, yes, he's the one. He is supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach, or the one to bring everything together, basically. There's so many different words in here. Frank Herbert based her Dune around a lot of Muslim mythology. Well, not Muslim mythology specifically, but a lot of the words are Islamic backed and everything like that. Kwisatz Haderach, El Ghazano Gaib, the Mahdi, the Muad'Dib. All those words are very reminiscent of Islamic thought and wordplay. And before I ramble too much, I just gotta say how great the characters are in this. All the scenes that you see in the movie basically follow along with the first half of the book. Now, we'll get into whether the movie ends where it should, but start out on Caladan. You feel like Caladan is so much different than what Dune will be. We don't even know. I mean, unless you've read the book, you have no idea what Dune actually is. I mean, I guess you can get a take from what it is just based on the title, Dune, like a sand dune. Like another part of Dune is series was based around Frank Herbert writing about or saving the ecological environment of the dunes in parts of Oregon, which were in danger at the time. I don't know if they still are, but that's basically what the book was built around. And then in a scientific setting, this movie feels like science fiction. This feels like something we could go to somehow in the future. Also, it's just a weird old Luddite feel. I mean, the movie I think is very differently from the book in some ways, like the missiles and the weapons and some of that. It feels like it is really cool in this movie when you see the missiles flying from the Harkonnen ships and the orbital bombardment coming from inside. That huge explosion just is just awesome. But at the same time, you feel like we're not exactly in a Luddite form, but we are in a guild form of life. It just feels like we are in the future, but we're in like a medieval level society. It's guild politics. The Leto takes over his fief. Dune is his fief that he looks over, while the people that work it, the serfs, mine the spice and everything like that. It feels kind of weird with the missiles. I can forgive it because it looks so cool, but it's just a little nitpick that just feels like feels a little out of place. But yeah, then we go to Dune for the first time. Bene Gesserit. I think the Bene Gesserit look, or Ellen Mahayam looks better with her look in this movie than in the David Lynch 1984 movie. I think it looks better. I think the Baron looks better in this one than that one. Again, they're like 40, almost 40 years apart, so you can forgive them. But I think David Lynch's Dune missed a lot of key elements. Like the Baron looked good in that movie, but he also looked even more disgusting than he should, like with those boils and stuff. It's just like it's kind of disgusting. But like the Bene Gesserit with their black hoods look good. I love the addition of the voice, when they use the voice, which is the power of the Bene Gesserit, like literally using their mental and magical powers to force people to do their will. Like when she literally pulls Paul forward, it looks great. That's what I thought the voice would be like when I read the book. It would be just like a guttural, deep, come here, you fucker. I'm going to tell you what's up. You're supposed to obey me. Paul putting his hand in the box and feeling pain, and then when he's just writhing in agony, and then he looks up. Right, Bene Gesserit, come for my way. I'm going to take control. You are meant to obey me. And then, like I was saying, when Paul's hand is in the box, and then she holds the Gam Jabbar to his knife, the poison needle, it looks great. When I read it in the book, that's what I thought. He's in so much physical pain, and the whole time she's saying, stop whining, be what you're supposed to be, basically. While also showing just utter disdain at, like, how dare you, Jessica, for boring a man instead of a girl. We can control girls. We can't control males as much. He has too much power. And then he looks up and he just looks at her, just with sheer disdain, like, this is me. Even while not knowing what he is at that point, he just looks at her, and she stops, and he just looks at his hand, and his hand was never in pain, really. Or, I mean, nothing ever happened to his hand. It was just all, like, physical sifting. Like they say in the movie, we sift sand like we should sift people. Or we sift people like we sift sand. And, yeah, that scene is just wonderful. Then we finally get to, they first find Dune. We first get to Dune, the Spacing Guild. And that I like the juxtaposition of the ship below the planet, and then the ship's literally going down to Dune. It looks great. The utter grandness and spectacularity of the ceremony. It feels so unnecessary, but it's like so needed. Then of course the Atreides find out that their spice harvesting has been sabotaged by the Harkonnens. You really feel like in the book that when the Atreides get to Dune, they were just meant to die. The Emperor Shaddam IV literally just sent the Harkonnens away, or intending to bring them back once got rid of the Atreides, and the Atreides are absolutely destroyed in that battle scene that comes later. But first, before we get to that, I just want to talk about that first time we see the worm. Looks spectacular. Seeing the worm slither its way through the sand as the sand sifts and moves. Feels like the worms just move mountains going through the ground. And then you see it coming out from the ground with those teeth. Those teeth look so cool. They look like frilly hairs, but we all know they're really teeth, and they're sharp as hell. And the worms are so big it swallows up the sandcrawler like nothing. Like this catching a baseball. It's just weird association there, but yeah, the worm is fantastic. I hope it ages well. I hope when the next movie comes out, we get to see more worms, because the worms, I mean, when you first look at the first Dune book, all you see is sand and a giant worm with a person on it. That's what you think. Worms, sand dunes. Worms, sand dunes. And the worms are huge. They're done so well. I'm worried they may not age so well, but I think right now they look spectacular. Especially when Blu-ray on a projector screen. Definitely needs to be seen. This movie will probably be on TV at some point, but you're just going to lose a lot of the grandiosity of it. It needs to be watched on a screen, on a big screen, theater-like screen, IMAX project. And yeah, this movie, we get to the Atreides battle scene where they're just utterly destroyed. The Sardaukar, the Emperor's Imperial Guard, basically come in and just wreck shop. They destroy all the Atreides ships. But then you see Duncan Idaho fighting back. He's just killing them left and right. You see Harkonnens come in with the Sardaukar, and you're like, again, this was a trap. This was never meant for the Atreides to be successful, become majestically wealthy like the Harkonnens are. It was just meant to bring them in, kill them off, because they were growing so powerful that the Emperor had to get rid of them. And the Harkonnens were just evil, so they're just more inclined to control, destruction, and beating down of the people of Arrakis. One minor nitpick was we never hear the name of the city that they're in, Arrakeen. The city, from what I remember from the book, is called Arrakeen, and the planet is Arrakis. It's not the city of Arrakis, it's the city of Arrakeen. It's kind of a nitpick, but... And then the big point, then when we see Paul finally come and do his own, he yells at his mother, and it's like wonderful. He becomes who he is. He scares the fuck out of her, and yeah, he becomes the one. He slowly starts to become one. The Liet Kynes change of her character is just kind of weird. I mean, she does fine, but it's just like, Liet Kynes was definitely a man in the book. Why? I don't understand why this was changed. Well, I know why this was changed, but I don't want to get into that. But then we get to the most divisive part of all, I think. The one I've seen the most complaints about is where the movie ends. Now, we have the fight with Jameis, which is excellent. And honestly, I don't have a problem with the movie leaving off where it did. I think in the book, the Battle of Jameis, he kills Jameis, and then there's a time skip of like 2 years, I think, sounds about right. And then, I don't want to spoil it, but I think they probably saw the time skip as a perfect reason to end that movie and begin the second one right after the time skip. Not going to go into the plot at all if you haven't read the book, but if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't really have a problem with it, really. I think it's fine. I think it's a decent place to stop. But yeah, the ending battle between Jawas, it just literally looks like he's toying with him, but really it's just because Paul's never killed a man and he doesn't know how to kill a man. All those fights with Gurney and stuff and Duncan over the years were just sparring. Also, I'd like to point out in this movie that Gurney Halleck never uses his battle set. His like long guitar, basically what a battle set is, and would have been nice if we could have seen that, but hopefully we see that in the next one. And there's so many scenes to talk about. I just don't want to talk about them all. I don't want to spoil the whole movie. I mean, obviously minor spoilers going in. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. Minor spoilers coming in. But yeah, this movie is as perfect as a movie can be for the source material. I really have very minor nitpicks that I just wanted to mention. The ending as one of the biggest things that people had an issue with, which they never really could have fixed it or picked a perfect spot. There always would have been complaints because the first book is so thick. If they made the whole book into one movie, it'd be over 4 hours long. So I understand why they did where they ended it where they did, and I think the ending is fine. I think they ended at a perfect time with the time skip. But the characters in this movie are great. I think like I said, everybody's casted perfectly for the most part, despite the fact that I have a problem with Zendaya and Momoa as actors. But overall, this movie is great. I can't wait to see Dune Part 2, and I hope we see more of the books turned into movies with Denis Villeneuve at the head. Now, like I mentioned in my short, Denis Villeneuve destroyed Blade Runner for me. I mean, I'll still always love the first one. This will always be one of my favorite movies, but Blade Runner 2049 is shit. Maybe I'll review it someday and go into it further, but yeah, that movie's shit. And I think overall, most of his movies have been done are okay, but they're pretentious as all hell. But this one is not. This movie is just a lovingly recreation of Dune by somebody that knows the series, and he does a fantastic job. The photography, the sets, the costumes, the sound mixing, the effects, the characters, it feels like Dune. You're interacting with a living, breathing film. It actually feels more than a film. It feels like an experience, something that you can only experience on the big screen as it was meant to be. Now, I mean, you can always buy the movie, which I would recommend. Do always go with physical media over digital. Digital lasts forever, but do you own it forever? No, you really don't. Whatever you buy digitally is you're only really buying a license to play it and use it. For any games, movies, or music, you're buying a license that could be pulled at any time, and I worry that someday that's going to happen to any digital thing I bought, which I'm trying to get away from digital as much as possible, but this is a rant for another day. But this movie is great. I love it so much. It's just a perfectly lovingly retelling of a great series, or a great first part of the first book of a great series. I love Star Wars, but I admit Star Wars took a good amount of things from Dune, and without Dune, I probably wouldn't have Star Wars. So, for any Star Wars fans and Dune fans, I like both series, but I admit that Dune is superior to Star Wars because Dune came before, and Star Wars took themes from Dune. I mean, the desert where Luke lives is literally called the Great Dune Sea. Where else do you think it came from? Frank Herbert's Dune, of course. But yeah, that's enough rambling. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, you can hit me up at Locals or Rumble or just in the comments section. I'd love to talk about this more. Maybe I'll do another video someday and really go into depth, but that's just not my channel. I just like to do movie reviews and sporting talk videos. But if you like what I have to say here, like, share, subscribe, and comment. I hate to say that, but liking videos really helps with the algorithm. Subscribing helps with my numbers, up to 108 now, and I just like to keep this going. I like to keep making better content for you all. Still trying to stay away from using footage as much as possible, but this movie is fantastic. It's a must watch. Even if you haven't read the book, watch the movie and then read the book and see what it's really about, and read the rest of the series, even though it never really ends. We never get the true ending to Dune because Frank Herbert died before finishing it. But yeah, again, this movie is great. So fun to watch. You feel like you're in a living, breathing world, and that's what movies are meant to be. Movie magic and transporting you to a different world, different point of existence than what you are now. As always, hope you enjoyed. Have a great day, and God bless.